civilization is based on the technology of the mass relays. Our technology. By using it, your society develops along the paths we desire. We impose order on the chaos of organic evolution. You exist because we allow it, and you will end because we demand it. You fight against inevitability, dust struggling against cosmic winds. This seems a victory to you, a star system sacrificed. But even now, your greatest civilizations are doomed to fall. Your leaders will beg to serve us.
As most of you know, in the Mass Effect series, you play as Commander Shepard trying to stop an ancient machine race called the Reapers from, well, reaping. And while their goal may be fairly easy to understand and comprehend, the motivations behind it, and more importantly, their methods for achieving it, can be a little harder to grasp. Now, while we don't have a whole lot of evidence in games 1 and 2 to give us a clear idea of what their motivations are, or even who made them, even though I still think it's the Smurfs, those little blue bastards, there is enough evidence in video games 1 and 2 to start developing a coherent theory as to their plan of attack. One problem that a lot of people have is that if you look at Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, you can see a bunch of short-term goals, but it's more complicated and more difficult to see how those goals fit together. How does the plans from Mass Effect 1 and the events in Mass Effect 1 thus lead to the plans and events in Mass Effect 2? And how does those events carry on to Mass Effect 3? In other words, what is the overall plan of the Reapers to conquer the galaxy? This video is going to look at a detailed theory generated by facts we've received from games 1 and 2 and some information we've received from developers about Mass Effect 3. Now, it should be stressed that this is only a theory, and while it's based in evidence from the game, it shouldn't be taken as gospel, nor should it be taken as hard facts from the game developers. So, as with any theory, this is open to the interpretation, but hopefully it will clear up a lot of issues that people have. So, let's get started, shall we? You're the Reapers, and you want to reap the galaxy, cause galactic extermination every 50,000 years or so. Now, you've tried being nice and asking the civilizations, "Excuse me, sir, will you let me reap you?" But unfortunately, after a couple minutes of considering the thought, they politely answered, "Go to hell." So now what do? Well, unless you got Billy Mays on your side, which obviously they didn't, you're going to have to start using force. Now, going to war with the galactic community is always a risky proposition. No matter how advanced your technology is, or how many ships you have, you're facing a lot of people. So, if you want to do this over and over again, you're going to have to stack the odds in your favor. How do you do this? Well, you make sure the societies develop along lines you choose. Now, everyone's pretty familiar with this, that the Reapers made the mass relays and the citadels to help try and guide the civilizations in the direction they wanted them to go. And their plan was fairly simple for millions of years. You create the citadel, which is too good an offer for galactic society to pass up as the nerve center of, well, everything. Then, whenever you're ready to start said reaping, you activate your little back door from dark space and you take out the Citadel, which has become the brain of the galactic civilization. And much like Johnny Ringo from Tombstone, once you get shot in the head, the rest of the body don't work so well.
Come on. Come on. Oh, Johnny. Come on. You're no Daisy. You're no Daisy at all.
So, here's what the Reapers did for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They would attack the Citadel, they would isolate all the rest of the organic life by taking out, as I said, the nerve center of the galaxy. And then they would take their sweet time destroying the leftovers, because there was no way that the galactic civilization could mount a coordinated effort or response. Now, this worked for millions of years, until the Protheans decided to throw a little monkey wrench into this plan. Had to go F up a good thing, right? Turns out a team of Prothean scientists, who apparently are all buttsore about, I don't know, their whole civilization being wiped out or something, managed to use the conduit to get to the Citadel and reprogram the Keeper so that Sovereign, the remaining Reaper, could not signal them to open the relay from dark space. Instead, it had to be activated from the Citadel tower. They also leave an advanced VI called Vigil with certain information about the said project, and also sent a message over their Prothean relays in case there were other Protheans out there that would understand them. So, the plan is completely screwed. Sovereign, at some point in time, tries to activate the relay, possibly after the Rachni Wars, but he finds out that something isn't working right. The Keepers do not respond. Oh, well, how about that? I just had someone walk up to me and hand me some CD about Jesus. Does that ever happen to you guys? It says indescribable, which is kind of odd, really, because if it is indescribable, what's the point of the CD again? I'm sorry, where was I? Oh, right, Reapers, things not working, Sovereign getting dial tone when trying to contact the Keepers. I wonder how many times he tried to dial that number before he realized it just ain't gonna work. So, he has to devise another strategy, another plan. He starts developing allies, along with the Geth, or the Geth heretics, as you find out in Mass Effect 2, and Sovereign. I mean, not Sovereign, Saren, the other S word. Now, at some point, Sovereign realizes that the Protheans are behind the change in plans, or behind the change in their Keeper's programming. So he sends Saren out to go find Prothean beacons to try and get information on what happened and possibly how to fix it. While this is taking place, the Geth heretics also start building a Geth army. Or it's possible they already had the army, but one way or the other, they raise an army of Geth heretics. So here is Plan A. While the Geth are off building up their fleet or whatnot, Sovereign and Saren go hunting Prothean beacons. They find one on Eden Prime that was damaged, so they only got a partial message from it. So they go to Pharos, and they find the Thorian and get the cipher from the Thorian to help interpret the information from the Prothean beacon. Also, at some point on Vermeer, they find an undamaged beacon that gives them a full message that is then translated by Benezia, who, of course, is the Asari matriarch. Then, finally, they've used Benezia to get the location of the Mu relay from the Rachni Queen on Noveria. Now they have a plan. Unfortunately for them, Commander Shepard happens to go to Eden Prime and get the message from the Prothean beacon as well. Now we've got a problem. Because now Shepard's got it in his head to go play hero and hunt Saren down. So, retracing their steps, Shepard also finds the Prothean information or the cipher from the Thorian, gets an Asari to mind meld with him or her to make sense of the vision, and locates the Mu relay from Benezia and the Rachni Queen. And then they find the Prothean beacon that's not broken on Vermeer and get the complete message. So it's important to point out that without Shepard, the Reapers would have completed their plan. He or she quite literally is the only reason they did not exterminate the galaxy with Plan A. So in the end, Shepard hunts them down, confronts them on the Citadel, and Saren, either after spectacularly committing suicide or not as spectacularly getting stabbed in the gut through glass, dies. And Sovereign loses his shields either from the collective attacks of the ships fighting it, or from the shock of having its link severed from the Saren husk. We're really not quite sure on that which is the case, but he is destroyed utterly, which is really quite tragic because he was only 2 weeks away from retirement. So, eventually, the Reapers back in dark space get wind of the situation, and, well, you gotta imagine that their next family meeting was not a pleasant one. They have to now come up with a plan B. Now, they know they have the Alpha relay on standby, in the Batarian Quadrant, and they could just travel to that, but it would be a waste of a lot of resources and energy to do so, and it wouldn't create the chaos and isolation that they rely on to take out the galaxy. So that's going to be put on hold. They need to try and find another way to continue with the plan that's always worked for them. And probably more importantly to them, they're concerned about erasing all evidence of their existence. I mean, think about it. One vague vision to one person was enough to motivate them to ruin their plans. The Reapers have always relied upon secrecy and the whole who's the dark cloaked figure. So if they're exposed, they have a much greater threat of not being able to achieve their goals. If they aren't able to isolate the individual worlds and cause the chaos that they rely upon, the chances of more incidents like the Prothean scientist getting in cryo chambers and causing havoc down the road is multiplied. So they need to try and find another way to avoid this. So they come up with Plan B. They try to make a new Reaper from humans, who they judge to be the best compatible people to make a Reaper with, by attacking colonies that were not protected by the Alliance or Council. They also try and develop a way to abduct humans from colonies that may have had alien populations as well, as evidenced by the plague they released on Omega, which was targeted at everyone but humans. The idea behind it, release the plague, kill everyone but the humans, and then take the humans. Now, that's speculation, but it does fit the facts. Secondly, they want to try and rebuild their Geth forces that were lost during the Citadel attack by unleashing a virus on the true Geth, or the non-heretic Geth, to try and win them over to their cause. And thirdly, they want to try and kill Shepard, or take his body, kill him and then take his body, one way or the other, we're not quite sure, but use him to create a Husk avatar like Saren or Paul Grayson from the novels. Then, after the Reaper was completed and the Geth forces had been rebuilt, launch a second attack upon the Citadel and its now weakened defenses from the first fight to try and gain control of the control tower and open the relay from dark space like before. Now, fortunately for the Reapers that even helped them out more, the Alliance and the Council had already started to dismiss the Reaper existence so that they wouldn't create a widespread panic. This, of course, played exactly into the Reapers' hands, and they tried to cover up everything they could about the Reaper, their known locations, and even sent Shepard on, ghost missions to try and hunt out the Geth. This also created the perfect opportunity for the Reapers and their collector agents to kill Shepard and try and recover his body. Unfortunately for them, the Cerberus beat them to the punch, and ended up reviving Shepard for their own plans. Then, much to the Reaper's dismay, Shepard proceeds to do a repeat performance and lay another smackdown on the Reaper's plans. He defeats them on Omega by helping Morden cure their plague. He, of course, defeats them on Horizon, making their quotas missed and not take the Vermeer survivor. Really don't know how much that hurt them, but if nothing else, it was a bitch slap to the face. And, of course, most importantly, he gets an IFF, runs to the Collector base, and blows up their baby human Reaper. The only plan that the Reapers had that could have been successful, depending on the player's choices, was the virus sent to the true Geth, depending on whether or not the player chose to do Legion's loyalty mission, or if he just sold Legion off to Cerberus. Either way, their plans to make a Reaper here have failed, and they don't think that they could successfully launch an attack on the Citadel with Geth forces alone. Therefore, Plan B has failed. At this point, the Reapers in dark space have decided that an attack on the Citadel directly is no longer an option, and they're going to have to go with a full frontal assault, which leads to Plan C, the Alpha Relay. Now, before we get into this, let's make one thing clear. Alright, there are 3 pieces of evidence that we have that show that arrival happens after the suicide mission in the canon timeline. The first piece of evidence is that Casey Huston said in a French Xbox 360 magazine that Mass Effect 3 begins 2 months after the events of Arrival. Now, Jesse Houston at E3 stated that Mass Effect 3 starts 6 to 12 months after Mass Effect 2.
Our story basically takes place right as they're kind of arriving at Earth, which doesn't take very long. There was a previous question from a number of people about when it actually takes place. It takes place roughly about 6 to 12 months after the end of the Mass Effect 2 ending. Alright.
Now you do the math. If Mass Effect 3 starts 2 months after the events of Arrival and 6 months after, at least 6 months after the events of Mass Effect 2, Arrival had to have occurred after the suicide mission. Also, Cerberus Daily News Network mentioned something about Dr. Kinnison on the 24th of January 2186. The Reaper attack on Earth, as stated by the news report, was June 6, 2186, which is within 6 months, meaning that since Mass Effect 3 happened 6 months after Mass Effect 2, and they talk about Kinnison being alive within 6 months of Mass Effect 3, Arrival had to have occurred, and she had to have died after the suicide mission. So the Reaper plan is simple. They travel to the Alpha Relay, hit the Batarians hard, then take on the Alliance and the Turian hierarchy, and expand it to the rest of the galaxy. Of course, there's already problems with this plan. Dr. Kinninson finds out about the purpose of the Alpha Relay through Object Rho's vision and plans to destroy it with an asteroid. Even though it may kill the 300,000 Batarians in the system, it will also delay the Reapers by months, possibly even years. Or at least that's what she believes. She didn't expect them to be fast enough to attack in only 2 months after finding this information. Now, here's where a bit of speculation comes in. The Reapers try to indoctrinate them to stop them from destroying the relay. However, they don't fully indoctrinate Kinninson until she returns back to the base. She gets lucky and gets captured by Batarians before she can be fully indoctrinated, which leads to why the project was never actually dismantled. Once she gets back to the asteroid, she is then fully indoctrinated. Now, this is, like I said, purely speculation. There is nothing in-game that tells us this, but it's really the only theory that makes sense. Otherwise, why wouldn't they have dismantled the project on arrival? Even more so, why would she tell Shepard the entire plan if she was already fully indoctrinated on their ride back to the station? So, she gets captured by Batarians, cutting her off from the indoctrination so that her indoctrination is not complete. She gets rescued by Shepard, tells Shepard of the plan, and then goes back to the facility and gets fully indoctrinated once she gets next to Object Rho. She then captures Shepard, but due to the fact that they don't actually have a prison facility on the base, Shepard manages to escape and lays another whooping on the Reaper's plans by destroying the Alpha Relay, which Shepard believes will slow them down by months or even years by forcing them to travel to another nearby relay. And this is where Mass Effect 3 starts. The Reapers, having failed all other plans, mostly due to Shepard, have started a frontal assault on the galaxy itself. Now, if this theory turns out to be true, not only will it provide a unified reason for the events in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 from the Reaper's point of view, but it'll also show that the events of Mass Effect 2 were not simply filler, as most people believe they were, but instead were a real attempt by the Reapers to continue their plans. But to know for sure what the Reapers' plans and motivations are, we're just going to have to wait until March 6, 2012.
J'ai rien là. Il me faut une information vite.
Heute Morgen um 8:13 Uhr Ortszeit geriet die Europäische Union unter Beschuss von
地球は
Reaper-Kampfhubschraubern.
現在奇妙な静けさに包まれています。
L'attaque globale.
ロボテクノが出現した
Pas contre les forces hostiles.